Hey guys, my name is Praneet Akilla, and I'm on StarShine Magazine. Thank you. It was just incredible. I think there's a lot of similarities to that show and October Faction in the sense that both take place in a slightly heightened supernatural world, and that with Nancy Drew was especially poignant for me, just because it's one of those properties that my parents and their parents kind of grew up with, even in India, growing up reading those books. I mean, there are sort of a lot of the first books that people read, as they grow up. And, Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Famous Five, those types of things. And so um, I wasn't too familiar with the Bobbsey twins. I knew them. I knew they existed as a property, but I wasn't familiar with them as a book series. And it wasn't until I got the role that my mom said, like, "Do you realize how special this is? This is like I grew up reading about the Bobbsey twins, and now my son gets to be like a character from my books. When I was growing up in the '70s, '60s and '70s, and now I get to watch you on my screen being like the romantic lead of as opposed to like a typical white character or whatever. Like they're actually casting a South Asian Bobbsey twin, as Nancy's love interest in the show. And so I think for me, not only was the show incredibly written and well developed, but I also think just being able to inhabit the shoes of I guess characters that a lot of people know, but not exactly as how they know them. So yeah, I love my experience in Nancy Drew, and yeah, we'll see about season 3. Motherland takes place in an alternate universe, in an alternate future where essentially the Salem witches that were put on trial in the 1700s, 1800s, in Massachusetts, end up striking a deal with the government of the United States to become their army. And that sets a trend of multiple countries setting their witches as their official sort of armies. And what makes this show stand out is it finally makes the females in society the dominant ones, and a traditionally patriarchal society that we're all living in, that we're trying to dismantle right now. This show has already dismantled that and has women up top of the pyramid. And so now the show follows 3 main characters: Tally Craven, Rael Collar, and Abigail Bellwether, 3 female witches that come from different parts of society that are all sort of integrated together in essentially what is known as War College. And the show sort of follows their trials and tribulations as politics of this world get involved. There's the Spree, which are anti-conscription witches. There's the Camarillo, who are witch hunters. And then there's General Alder and the Secret Service witch community and the witch military that has to deal with sort of the political turmoil with these sort of against these various organizations. And in that, there's also a through line of racism, discrimination, and prejudice, and love, and death, and all those sort of incredible sort of themes are all sort of interspersed through this lens. So it's very much, it's a fantasy supernatural type of show. There's a recurring theme here. I have, for whatever reason, I'm only acting in supernatural shows. I promise that's changing with my next role. I can confirm that it's changed with this next role that I'm filming. I think it's actually the most realistic show that I've done because, I think a lot of its themes are very relevant to today. I think, and it's also very talky. What I mean by that is it's there's a lot of scenes where there's people just sitting down in a room and negotiating. It's some people find that boring. I find it intriguing, dramatic. I find it. I like sort of political thrillers, and so I think this particular show is sort of, I would describe it as a fantastical political thriller, if and so yeah, so that's what Motherland is about for those who haven't seen the show.
Very
Gregorio is, after all the female witches that we keep seeing, he's finally a male witch that's introduced to the world. He has very strong opinions about male witches in today's society, and he's very sure to let people know within earshot. Is not afraid or not shy about sharing that. unfortunately, due to time constraints, there's a lot of scenes that were cut at the beginning of season 2 that sort of delved into a lot of this that Gregorio sort of talks about. Hopefully, if we get a season 3, that gets explored a bit more. But yeah, he's the girls, the 3 sort of main girls of the show. They meet Gregorio when they attend War College in season 2, which is essentially like which sort of university, military university, and he is part of their coven. So like it's sort of the group that you sort of your sort of homeroom, like the group that you sort of graduate with, your graduating class, and he's part of their coven, and he's in all their classes and all these things. And the cool thing about him is he is part of the High Atlantic Society, which is where Abigail Bellwether comes from. So they are family friends, and all of Abigail's family wants her to handfast with him, which means essentially get like sort of an arranged marriage with his family to propagate the good genes in the Bellwether lineage. And so there's a little bit of friction between Abigail and Gregorio throughout the season. You know, she obviously is in a romantic relationship with Adil. I wouldn't say he's actually into her in that romantic way. He used to date Libba, who we unfortunately lost in season 1. But you know, he's I would say the comic relief. You know, he's just really snarky, really witty. He's the idiot that pipes into the comment when we don't need any comments. You know, and he's just a really fun character. And you know, beneath all that snarkiness and all that sort of, you know, that witty banter and stuff is a person who's deeply kind and really looks out for his friends and really cares about people. So that's Gregorio. I've been asked that before in terms of my research that I did for this show, and I didn't really do much research. The only research I really did, which was I thought the most important thing that I could do, was figure out what the tone of the show was. You know, figure out what Elliot Lawrence likes to do as a showrunner, and you know, luckily for me, you know, much before I'd known this opportunity was coming my way, I had watched season 1 during the pandemic when it came out every week, and Kai Bradbury, who plays Garrett on season 1, is a very good friend of mine, and so I was just watching to support. Sorry,
I've interviewed Kai before.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think I saw the article last year. So yeah, yeah, me and him are really good friends, and so we've done lots of theater together and stuff like that. So I was just watching as a supportive friend, and so I had almost in a way kind of already done my homework without knowing it, you know. And so for me, that was it was about getting into the tone of the show, and then in regards to the character, I think I had good conversations with Amanda Tapping, our executive producer, and Elliot Lawrence, and you know, they liked what I was doing on an instinctual level. You know, I think I sort of made choices as the actor does, and they liked it and sort of went with it. You know, but what was definitely sold to me and sort of certainly encouraged throughout the show was to sort of bring some of my comic flair. You know, I think I'm not, you know, I played sort of the brooding, dramatic person in these shows, but I'm really not that in real life. I'm much more awkward and shy, and sometimes I can be funny, but I certainly like I have an improv background, and I like comedy a lot, so this gave me a chance to just be the funny guy for once, you know. I believe in the possibility of it, yeah. I certainly can't speak for you know, practicing it. I certainly can't speak for having experience with it by any means, but an old roommate of mine actually practiced witchcraft, and you know, witchcraft doesn't ever. It typically has this negative connotation to it, you know. But in reality, it's you know, there's a lot of you look at astrologers, you look at fortune tellers, you look at like you know, priests of different religions and stuff like that. They're essentially practicing different forms of witchcraft, you know. And so I always believe in the possibility of it. You know, I do believe in a higher power, and so it's important to me in my faith. So to me, the way I look at witchcraft is basically that. It's you know, trying to find answers in a different domain, you know, and so yeah, I 100% believe in the possibility of that. The answer is I don't know. I don't know if it exists or not, but I certainly believe that it's possible for it to exist. So. Personally, have signed various NDAs, so I can't say specifically. I can say that they are dramas that are rooted in reality.
Okay.
That's all I can say. They are no more supernatural. I just play a person. No witch, no thief, no robber, no jock. It's very different. It's much more grounded in reality and akin to some of the like some of the gritty sort of HBO sort of drama type of thing. Man, I'm trying to say, I'm trying to be as vague and descriptive as possible. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure I will, as soon as I'm allowed to say things, I will announce it, and then I'll come talk to you again.